Hello, everyone. My name's Lakin Brooks, and I am your tutor for New Testament. If you haven't met me yet, it's great to meet you. So this is just meant to be a quick overview compilation of some of the topics that you'll see coming up on your very first test, which will be Friday. Ooh, I know that's both really exciting and really scary, but trust me, so long as you study, you will do absolutely fine. And Dr. Reif has been really, really wonderful with giving you some great review tips here and helping you all know exactly what to study. Keep in mind that these videos are not meant to be a replacement for reading your book or for going back over your notes. This is just kind of meant to help you all have an idea of what to study. And in fact, later on, you'll see me kind of referencing the textbook to where you can find some of these answers. So let's go ahead and let's get prepared. Here you can see the very first vocab terms list. These words are incredibly important. They're kind of foundational to what you would consider New Testament knowledge. So here you can see what exactly is the Torah. Well, the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament. That is Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. But what exactly does that mean? So keep in mind, if you consider one word for what the Torah really is, it's the law. So let's just go ahead and highlight that because it's super duper important. The Torah is the law for the Hebrew people, and it helps them know how they should worship, how they should sacrifice. It's how they feel connected to God. So whenever you think of the Torah, think of the law for the Hebrew people, connects them to God because it shows them how they should worship and what biblical laws to follow. Okay, so let's go on to canon. Canon, if you think about it, it's actually Egyptian for measuring stick. I keep misspelling measuring, so I apologize about that. So if you think about what does this mean, measuring stick, a canon is a list or measuring stick, so to say, of what biblical books we find to be authoritative, or aka what we consider scripture. Okay, so in other words, the canonized books of the New Testament are the 27 New Testament books that we currently read. Okay, so does that make sense? Canon is what we consider scripture. It's a measuring stick of what we think is authoritative biblical books. Okay, the New Testament is written in what language? Largely it would have been written in Greek because at this time we have a very Hellenistic or Greek-centered society. Okay? There are 4 types of literature in the New Testament. These are all really, really important things to know. You have, first of all, the Gospels. Those are those first 4 books talking about Jesus' life. Then you have the Acts of the Apostles. That's just one book. That's just Acts. It comes right after the Gospels. Then you have the epistles, or in other words, that's just letters. A lot of these are written by Paul, and you'll get into those in more depth. And then, of course, you have, last but not least, Revelations. Okay? So those are the first 4 types of literature in the New Testament. You have the Gospels, the Acts of the Apostles, the epistles, or those letters to the churches, and you have the book of Revelation. Okay, what exactly are scribes? Scribes are people who write things down. It sounds very straightforward, and you think, well, why would we need a scribe in this time period? It's because a lot of people didn't know how to read and write in this time period. So, in other words, it was really important that you had a couple people who it was their entire life's profession, essentially, to physically write down and make copies of scriptures, of different texts, and to know how to read, because they really helped keep that tradition going on. Because if not everyone knew how to read, then you really need someone who does know how to do that. So that's who scribes are. That is their whole entire life's profession, is to write things down. What is Nag Hammadi? It is an Egyptian town. I cannot spell today, guys. Nag Hammadi is an Egyptian town. And if you're wondering a little bit more about it, how about we just go up here. Okay. Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties here. And I'm trying to figure out how to get this to show in the current tab. Record this tab. There we go. I'm back now. So let's look up Nag Hammadi, and let's just see what the internet gives us about it. You can find all sorts of information. So let's go here. And let's wait for it to load. My internet's been kind of laggy. Okay, so here you can see that it is a town in Egypt. You can find a lot more information about it. Honestly, a lot of information that you won't really need to know. But it is important because here you can find that there were Christians who were shot dead. You can also see that there was a find, which is super important, in 1945. So I'm just going to highlight this sentence for y'all to read. In this just paragraph, actually. It says, Nag Hammadi is best known as the site of an archaeological find in 1945, where there were a set of Gnostic text or biblical type text dated to the 2nd century, so incredibly old. Local farmers found these documents in very old jars buried under the ground and put away in caves. And so they found that they were pages torn from books or codices. And they're really important because they contain a lot of Gnostic writings which relate to a religious community, and it gives us a lot of these really old documents we didn't have before. So that's what's really important there. And now let's switch it back to here. Okay. And now that you know what that is, it is the site of 1945 Gnostic books. And these books, or documents rather, would probably be a better word for it, dated back to 2nd century. So they're incredibly old, relate back to the time of the biblical occurrences. Okay, so what does it mean to be a heretic? It means to be a false preacher or a false teacher. So it means to go against doctrine. Jesus was actually accused of this several times because he went against the norms of what the Jewish leaders thought was appropriate. So if you're a heretic or if you're engaging in heresy, it means that you are preaching or teaching things about the Bible or about certain religious beliefs that are not considered accurate. Who were they not considered accurate by? Religious leaders of the time. Does that make sense? Okay. So the criteria for canonization, those are things that I'll encourage you to look back on your books at because we have a limited amount of time here. You can see that some of the things that I'll just kind of quickly look over, dates are kind of important. That's why Nag Hammadi, the findings there were important. Why are dates important? Because it leads to authorship. While we can never really be entirely sure who have written certain books, it's generally important for scholars to have an idea that, hey, this book may be authentic. It may have been written by someone who was alive during the time of Jesus or could have known someone who was alive during that time. So just kind of this idea of genuineness. So here you can see that there's some thought to these questions. These are things just to kind of keep in mind. So this is the first vocabulary section that we've gone over here. Again, I would encourage you to go over canonization. Thank you all so much for sticking with me. We'll go over the second vocabulary list and terms very, very soon. So until then, see you later.